You're listening to Tonebender's Sound Design Podcast, presented by Sound Ideas. This is the show where we talk with the sonic artists behind our favorite films, games, and series. After over a year of dedicated work, the entire Sound Ideas sound effects collection, over 500,000 individual files, have been upgraded to the Universal Category System's file name and metadata standards. With this enhancement, sounds are now more organized, searchable, and ready for seamless integration into your workflow. Head over to sound-ideas.com to learn more. Hello and welcome to Tonebenders. My name is Tim Muirhead, and I will be your host today as I play you some wonderful interviews I recorded during the Sonic Days conference in 2024. As some of you may know, Sonic Days just launched its schedule and list of speakers for Sonic Days 2025 coming up next month from November 18th through 20th. The list of speakers is impressive. Some of the top people working in sound for films and games are going to be in Denmark for the conference this year. You can go to sonicdays.com to get all the information, but here are some of the quick highlights. James Mather, Oscar winner for Top Gun Maverick, who also worked on multiple Harry Potter movies, will be doing a presentation on the sound work for the Mission Impossible films. He has been the supervising sound editor on all the MI films since Rogue Nation in 2015. Tormod Ringes will be doing a talk about his work on Tron Ares and its impressive sound design. Kim B. Christensen from Skywalker Sound will be giving an interesting talk about the long career he has built by being whatever a project needs. He has credits as a re-recording mixer, a foley editor, a dialogue editor, a studio builder, supervising sound editor, and field recordist. He's worked on all-time classics like Bram Stoker's Dracula, Seven, all the way up to this summer's blockbuster, F1. On the game audio side of things, Philip Erickson will be doing a talk about the sound design of the excellent adventure game Split Fiction. Martin Stieg Anderson will be giving an inside peek to the sound of the upcoming rock climbing game Cairn. And audio director Pete Ward will go behind the scenes of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, exploring how the team recreated the iconic sonic identity of the films into this new interactive medium. Outside of all that, there will be 70 other talks covering podcasting, sound in museums, game audio, sound art, audio synthesis, and more. Tonebenders is actually going to be highly involved in the conference this year. On Tuesday night, November 18th, there will be a Tonebenders Denmark sound design meetup where you can hang out with the sound community and share your stories of audio glory and defeat over drinks. On Wednesday the 19th, I will be presenting a case study of this podcast, exploring how it was built and the many lessons I have learned in niche podcasting. On Wednesday the 20th, there will be a live recording of a Tonebenders episode featuring many of the visiting presenters I mentioned already. Also, later in the day on Wednesday, I'll be doing a presentation on doing sound design for children's animation. So I will be crazy busy over at the conference, but if you're coming, please make an effort to say hi to me and we can hang out. It'll be so much fun. The most important thing about Sonic Days is that it's entirely free. There is no cost for any of the talks or demos. So head over to sonicdays.com and check it all out. Last year, one of the featured speakers was Foley artist Shelley Roden. Shelley works at a Skywalker ranch in California, and she was one of the most popular speakers at the conference because she really embraced her role. She gave an excellent presentation, and after her time slot was done, she went to the Foley studio at the college and spent over 2 more hours doing a masterclass with anyone that wanted to be a part of it. It was truly a priceless bit of education. I got to sit down with Shelley for a quick interview while we were both in Denmark. I'm sitting here with Shelley Roden. You're here at Sonic Days to do a kind of masterclass about Foley. It was really great and it was really well received, and then you went the extra mile, not scheduled. You just spent almost 2 hours with a bunch of students in the Foley room here at the college, just hanging out and teaching them stuff like that. That's really awesome of you to do.
Thank you. I mean, why not? Because I get as much or more from doing it than they might have gotten from me.
I don't know if that's true, but I like that attitude.
Yeah, well, I learn things too. I listen to what they have to say and what their experiences are, and then I show them things that they could do in the room that has some limited resources, and their eyes are very wide and they're smiling, and it's just great. A great exchange, equal exchange.
So you've done a tour recently of a bunch of schools in the East Coast of the United States. What do you get out of talking to the students like that?
First of all, what is exciting for me in the beginning, which I didn't know I had this in me, I love the performance aspect of actually giving a presentation. And it's not that I'm doing a demonstration in how to do Foley, but I'm talking about Foley and what I love about it. And I'm showing them visuals as well because it's academic environment. So I feel like I need to do a serious lecture, But I've thought about Foley for 25 years, and I feel like I have something to offer as far as what I've learned from it, and what I can inspire them to possibly do themselves, or try, or encourage them to be curious and to trust their instincts and imagination. That is the first thing I say to the kids, actually, is you have an instinct and an imagination that no one else on earth has. It is your individual gift, and isn't that wonderful that you have that to start with? So experience will give you more skills and more ability to be like a craftsperson, but it starts with your imagination and your instinct. So it's a superpower, really.
Yeah. Well, You use the word inspire. You said that you want to inspire them. And I think that's a really good choice of words because you're really good at public speaking, and you make it sound like at conferences like this, we're at Sonic Days, but it's not, I haven't actually experienced much of it at this one, but a lot of times it's people up at the podium saying, this is what I do, and I put it here, and then I do B, and then C works because of D. Right. And that's not what you were doing. You're up there saying, figure out what you love, and then figure out how you can do it, was one of the things I took from your talk.
Thank you. I'm glad I came across that way.
Yeah.
Because all I can do is tell them about my own individual journey. Hopefully that'll just inform them and make them realize that, okay, I was scared at one point too. I was a college student, and here's a picture of me as a college student, and then here's a picture of me on the Skywalker Sound stage. I had no idea that one would lead to the other. And what did I do to make that happen? Well, I remained open to opportunities and all these things that I've learned along the way. And I also like to show my career path because a lot of people, a lot of students ask me, how do I get to Skywalker? It's like the ultimate goal. And just seeing the light in their eyes, I just want to help them so much. So first of all, I give them my email, and I say, get a mentor. And I'm like, here you go. I'm happy to mentor you. But also look at my career path and the ups and downs that it's had. I draw a line from when I was an intern to the present day, and it's like a heartbeat. It's like ups and downs, layoffs, stages closing, having to start again, having to work in another environment, like an office. I didn't even go into detail at all. It was just to show the idea that it's not necessarily A to B straight, easy.
Yeah, it's not a linear thing. There's ups and downs and devastating failures and extreme triumphs.
Right, but that builds you up for the next thing. So my worst experience in my career might have led to the best experience in my career. And actually it did. So well,
tell us that story then.
No, I'm not going to tell you that story.
Okay, fair enough.
That's too personal.
Fair enough.
I'll tell you later.
Gotcha. Well, we both have a talk that we want to go to starting up.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
But thank you very much for talking with us today, and thanks for hanging out with me all week. It's always great getting to talk with Shelley. I've only interviewed her a few times, but every time I left thinking that she was just an amazing person. Next up is Katrine Amsler, a wonderful sound designer working in games. She's worked on projects like Control and Back 4 Blood. She gave a great talk at Sonic Days about finding your own workflows and tools instead of trying to follow what someone else has already done. It was one of my personal favorite talks at the conference. I got to sit down with her for a few minutes on the last day of the conference. I'm here with Katrine Amsler, who is one of my favorite people because you helped me out by donating some of your libraries for me to give to people who help volunteer and edit episodes earlier on. You reached out kind of out of nowhere saying, I can help you out with this, and it was a lifesaver. So I owe you for that. But you've been on Tone Benders in the field recording story episode. You told this amazing story of recording inside an oil tank.
Yeah.
And we're here at Sonic Days right now, and you did a whole session that was not necessarily about that, but kind of framed around that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could talk about this is kind of self-serving, but it's a wonderful story. You talk about your first kind of when you found Tone Benders and how it has interacted with your career.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, it's funny because I don't. I have a music background, so my education is in music. Eventually, I found out that I loved sound design. I did the education, so I couldn't just jump on a new one. So I needed somewhere to get my information. And I got a tip from someone about the Tone Benders and all of these episodes out. So I would hear like 5 a day.
Oh my God.
To speed up, just to get all the knowledge. So I heard everything. And I think eventually I came to an episode where you had Anne Krober on. And I remember I just loved that episode. Her way of interacting with the animals, and thought it was just magical. So I reached out after the episode just to tell her that I didn't want anything, or I just wanted to let her know that I thought it was a wonderful episode, and I didn't expect an answer or anything. So she wrote back to me like 5 minutes after.
Wow.
Saying like, yeah, this is wonderful. Let's talk on Skype. And we ended up having a conversation for, I think, 1 or 2 hours, just talking about everything and sound, of course. I absolutely loved it. During that conversation, she was like, you should hook up with Martin Stig Andersen that I've worked with, and Peter Albrechtsen. And she got me in contact with them. And after that, I started as an intern for Martin Stig Andersen and eventually started working for him. So in a way, I always thinking that Tone Benders is the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So I just want to thank you for that.
It's incredibly kind of you to say, but it might have given you some ideas and opportunities, but you being talented and skilled is what made the opportunities work for you. So yeah. It's obviously a lot more on you.
Yeah.
In your talk at Sonic Days here, you made an emphasis about how what you were talking about is how you do it, but it's not necessarily the right way.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about how you've kind of taken ideas from other people and made your own techniques?
The fact that I did not have an education, that I didn't go to this awesome Sonic College where we're at now, that didn't exist when I was looking for something similar. So the fact that I didn't have that meant that I've been just looking everywhere that I could, like YouTube or watching movies, looking at game playthroughs, just everything that I could suck into my head. What I wanted to make sure to say in my talk was that we oftentimes find that aspiring sound designers, or even all of us, want to do it in the best possible way. And I think we end up thinking that the best possible way is to copy someone else that did it the best possible way. But that's not necessarily the best possible way for you. 50% of the time, I wish that this education had been there when I was searching for it, because it would have made my path easier. I have the weirdest convoluted road into this industry. But 50% of the time, I wish I'd done exactly what I did, because also the lack of knowledge sometimes have made me do things in a completely different way. And I think that inspires others. Just, if your fridge isn't full of food, you gotta do what you gotta do with the potato that's in there. That's been very much my approach to things. And I just hope that all the students here and the aspiring sound designer will start doing what they are fascinated about. So I'm not creating the same circle just because I'm going out and recording stuff in an oil tank. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's the right thing for anyone else.
I have a similar story. When I was first starting to do field recording, there was blogs about it. One of them was talking about this microphone, the Sanken CSS 50, a stereo shotgun. It was quite expensive. And I was like, oh, this person's using it. I got to go get that. And it's the microphone I use the least. I hardly ever touch this microphone. It never called my name. Like when I would use it, when I first got it more, I was never happy with it. It just never worked for me. And I use significantly cheaper microphones all the time. That one I got specifically because someone I admired used it. Yeah. and it just didn't work for me.
No.
And, I've never sold it. I should sell it. But if anyone out there listening wants to buy one, after I just kind of trash-talked it a little bit, it's interesting that you can't just see what someone else has done and try and copy them, because it doesn't work that way for some reason.
No, and it's funny because I got that question, of course, yesterday. Like, what mics do you use? And I just said, well, the ones that I have, and I have 2, and it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for talking to me today. Thanks for your great talk, and it's wonderful to meet you in person after we've interacted digitally for many years. Yeah. Awesome. Great.
Totally.
Next, I'm going to talk to Lars Tirsbæk. Lars is the person behind getting Sonic Days off the ground. He's the busiest person on Earth during the conference, as he's making sure everything is going smoothly and he's solving problems before anyone even knows there is one. I was able to corner him for a quick talk about the history of Sonic Days. Can you tell me what the original idea of Sonic Days, where it came from? What was the inspiration?
We built this campus in 2022 and moved into this. And when we opened it up for students, we also wanted to make sort of a open house event, just to show the world what we have done. And then we invited some of the technology partners who have been a part of equipping the building with technology, and also some of our guest lecturers. Just called them and said, hey, could you come and tell something about that stuff you did there, and so on. There was a zero budget, just friends helping friends and networking stuff. And it turned out really, really great. It was a 2-day event, and it was like 200 people coming. Just sending mails out to our lecturers, guest lecturers, and people we knew and stuff. And suddenly there was like 200 guests coming in. That was like, okay, they might need this, or we might need this, an event like this. And I also have the same feeling. I have been going to AES conventions and trade shows and stuff like that, like NAMM, for example. And it's amazing to go into that sort of things and seeing and touching all the stuff that we work with and all the tools that we can use, meeting people and stuff like that. But on the same time, I like AES with the conference part of it and learning about the amazing research and stuff folks are doing. And I love going to a trade show like NAMM and learning about new technologies. But why not mix it up? And that was what we sort of wanted to do here. So it's not a trade show. It's not a traditional research conference. It's more like a workshop session conference sort of thing, where we want to put in the professionals telling about the amazing work they do with sound, and also get the technology partners in showcasing the new technology that they do that enable us to do amazing things with sound and pushing the boundaries of what we can do. So the idea is to create this celebration of sound, basically, and to make a space where talents and professionals can meet up and connect and learn from each other, because these young people that is just starting out, us being professionals, can also learn something from them, because they are just open-minded and just diving into this stuff.
How many years has it been going on for now?
It was back in 2022 we did the first one, and then 2023 the second one, and that it was like 450 people coming in. And now this year we have more than 600 people attending. It's pretty amazing, to be honest, that we see this evolution and also this reach. The first year, I guess, it was primarily Danish sound designers coming in and people from the Danish industry coming in. Last year, we saw a little bit more of the Scandinavian region and European region starting to come in. And this year, there's been people from like Norway, Poland, UK, Finland flying in to be a part of this. I see it as a statement that there is a need for this in Europe, to do something like this, and to do it in a place where we do education and we have the facilities to do this in a good way, not just in a convention center where we have to build everything from ground up. It's also just amazing that we can use this space that we have created for our education and share it with everybody and make a free event that everybody can attend with equal access. It's just amazing to be a part of this.
You brought up the building that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Calling the town part where I'm staying is an older town with cobblestone streets. It's beautiful. And then you kind of go over the bridge, over the river, and the university buildings are super modern. They're angular. And then when you get inside, All the rooms are very well soundproof. The gear is awesome. I'm extremely jealous because nothing like this existed when I was going to school 20 years ago or whatever.
Neither when I did. I'm educated from Sonic College back in 2015. Immediately after that, I started out as a lecturer, a guest lecturer on some recording classes and stuff like that. At that point, we knew that we were going to move the education to a new campus.
In a new town, right?
Yeah, in a new town, exactly. We just moved like 50 kilometers north of where we were before to a little bit more central position in Denmark. And then we should have this new building. And being a student myself at Sonic College, knowing what the students are going through, how they use the facilities, how we could dream of using facilities and what we were missing and what we were really happy of was a big part of facilitating this building. I was heading that project as well. So before Sonic Days, that were my job for a couple of years, to leading the project of doing this building. And it's purpose-built for this. So we ended up getting a fully equipped Dolby Atmos mixing stage and cinema, which we didn't have before, but we dreamed of having it. It was just like, it could be so nice to have a cinema where when we had sound designers coming in, showcasing the work that they do, we could basically play back a film in a real cinema environment. And if it should be really cool, we should also be able to mix in there. And we got it. And then on the same way, we knew that we have like 150 students at the sound design program. And we knew that, we also need quite a big amount of studios because they are going to do tasks and stuff. So we needed editing suites, stereo suites with a vocal booth. Yes, let's have some of them. We needed mastering studios for doing stereo mastering for work, for music work and stuff like that. Let's build 2 of them. Okay, then we need a recording studio. Okay, let's see if we can fit that in. So we basically just did a list. We also needed a foley stage and a small control room. And then I want this, I want that, and then a long list. And then when the building was starting to be drawn, it was like I got nearly a blank canvas saying, this is where you can be. You can't move the windows and you can't move where the toilets is, but let's start to build this. And then I worked together with some architects and acoustic designers and trying to fit out the spaces and see, this room will be quite small, but it's okay because then this room will be a little bit bigger. And then pushing around walls, trying to define the compromises that there always will be when you're doing stuff like this. And then we ended up getting this amazing space, state-of-the-art production facilities for students doing sound work. So they are super spoiled.
In addition to the school, my main interaction has been Sonic Days, the conference. Or do you use the word conference?
Yeah, we're calling it a conference, but
yeah.
I guess it's more like a celebration of audio. But
I don't know if that's an easy thing to sell, but that's exactly the vibe you get when you're here. There's only a couple hours left. We're on the last day. I've had a blast, and I've learned so much and met so many people, and I'm so glad I came. So thank you for putting this on. It's been amazing.
Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. Your podcast is also an inspiration back to this, listening to your episodes about all different kinds of projects that you're going through is sort of a research thing for me when we are facilitating the program. So when calling in Craig Cunningham and Laura and stuff like that, talking about Deadpool Wolverine, I have heard the episode before even getting the idea, we need to do a session like this because their work that they did, it's just fantastic to hear about and to get them here, and people like you and other people have been here for the whole week and just hanging out, and it's just great to see this. So thanking for you being here.
Awesome. Amazing. Lars should be really proud of what he's built at Sonic Days. Another speaker at the conference last year was Leslie Gaston-Bird. She spoke at Sonic Days about using Atmos in creative ways. It was a really great talk. As you're about to hear, Leslie is a busy person. We had only met briefly before being in Denmark together, so it was a real treat to be able to spend more time with her. In this interview, we started out talking about how you have to wear many hats to make a living in sound these days.
In your talk, you mentioned the idea of not having just one job. It's jobs, and that's kind of the way of the audio world these days. Do you want to talk about what your jobs are right now and how you see that kind of evolving for people?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tim. Thanks for inviting me to speak with you today. Yeah, I had posted that somebody said to me, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm an audio engineer." They said, "You must love that job." And I said, "Jobs." Plural, because there's so much. I don't know if it's just because what we do is so interesting, and because audio pervades every part of our life. You know, television, radio, film, listening to music in the car, listening to people talk, telling stories, saying how your day was, listening to birds in the park. And I think as audio professionals, we're tuned into that. And there's so many ways to tell our stories. So the jobs that I have are president of the Audio Engineering Society, and that's actually a volunteer role. It doesn't pay. Happy to do it because it's such a rich opportunity to network with like minds, people who are like us, who love to do so many different things in audio. Building loudspeakers, doing microphone shootouts, talking about equality in the industry, having the opportunity to listen to multi-channel sound. All of these things interest me. The other thing I do is I am a senior lecturer at City University of London, and that role allows me to educate. So I get to share my love of audio with the young people who are coming into this industry as musicians, who are aspiring producers, who have a better finger on the pulse of what's the latest and greatest things that are happening now than even I do, I think, because there's so many things that are vying for their attention. Streaming, for example, and how music and record companies are reaching young ears, and the plugins that you buy, and having Logic on your laptop. So there's definitely a new scene going on. So I love that interplay of, I'll teach you the principles of audio and audio theory. You tell me what you're interested in, like what's your world like. Then there's my freelance company, Mix Messiah Productions, which I started in 1993. And so, whenever I get a gig, I do it under that freelance banner. And that allows me to stay current. If I'm doing sound for a movie, then I have to know about Dolby Atmos and the Cargo Cult Matchbox plugin for conforming edits, and I have to know about isotope noise reduction plugins. And being a freelancer allows me to know what's happening now and what the standards are and what loudness standards are. I find difficult to do purely as an educator because you're not applying that knowledge. And then I started a nonprofit called Immersive and Inclusive. Immersive and Inclusive is dedicated to getting underrepresented groups the training they need to be taken seriously as engineers. So we do the Dolby Atmos certification as part of Immersive and Inclusive. And the classroom dynamic is super different. So instead of teaching young people the basics of audio, I'm teaching professionals a skill that can help them land their next gig, or teaching professionals how they can use it for storytelling in their unique circumstances. So that's job number 4. My 5th job is that I'm a mom. So I have 2 teenagers, and I think every parent out there knows that that's a full-time job too. Those are the 5 big things that make Leslie Gaston who she is.
So in the context of teaching students who are going to be entering the workforce, when I started working, it was in the mid-90s, and the expectation or the hope, I guess, was to get a job at a studio, full-time job, show up every day. I'm not interacting with students daily, but is that even something that they're hoping for anymore? It seems like a white whale, like the golden ticket. It doesn't seem like the normal thing that people are doing anymore.
It's a good question. I think there's some element to that. So like you, when I started in the late 80s, I was inspired by a couple of videos I saw. One was Hall & Oates' making of the song Go Solo, which they showed everything from, Daryl Hall sitting at a piano, working out the melody, getting in the studio, laying down all the instruments and tracks. And I'm like, holy crap, that's cool. Looking in the YouTube comments, I found other people who said this was the video that kicked off my career, That video aired on MTV in the late 80s. So MTV in the 80s, I think, had a major impact on music, on artists, on how we consume music, how music videos become the promo for the record that you're putting out, and all of these things. And I think that was what drove a lot of people into the industry. 10 years before that, it was something else. And now looking 30, 40 years later, I want to be a producer. I have Logic on my laptop. I've got Pro Tools on my laptop. I've got Ableton on my laptop. I can make music anywhere at any time. I can have my friend come over and I can get one of those vocal surround things that you stick on a boom pole and have isolation for my vocals. I can create drums from samples. I could create a song with artificial intelligence. There's all these new kinds of ways of making songs, and for young people who want to express themselves, now the question is, how do I get paid to do this? So the economy of music production is something that is shockingly unfamiliar to most of us, but yet kind of sort of the same. Now you want streams on Spotify, and now you want to build your YouTube audience. And I think that the aspiration to go to a big studio might be there for an intern. I want to intern at a studio. But most people want that experience, I think, so that they can do their own thing. And we scare the heck out of people. We scare the heck out of people as educators because we say, you've got to have entrepreneurial skills. Here, have a music business degree to go along with your music tech degree so you know how to survive out there. And I think that's how it's changed for young people.
Do you find that when you're telling them to go build their entrepreneurial skill set, are they listening?
No, they're listening. They're listening. Yeah. They're keen. When I talk about sample rates and bit depth, they gloss over. But when I talk about feeding yourself and your family, they're clocked in. They're like, tell me how to do this because I need to survive. So no, they're paying attention for sure.
So when you were talking about all the jobs that you do, which is your favorite?
I'm supposed
Excluding
to say
your mom.
I'm supposed to say being a mom. Hello, Zachary, Kara. How you doing? Hope you're listening. My favorite out of all of those, I think my favorite thing to do is to sit and edit. So I'm going to have to say Mix Messiah Productions is my favorite because I can sit there, I can zone out. I'm giving away a little bit too much information. So TMI, everybody, I love to have a snack right next to my right hand. So I'm mousing, I'm editing, a progress bar comes on, I reach for my snack, progress bar, process finish, render finish, whatever. I go back and I'm just in the zone, and it's quiet and it's peaceful. I think there are rewards from the other jobs that I do. I think the other jobs are rewarding their own way, but my favorite is editing.
Thanks a lot for talking to me today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
For the final interview I did at Sonic Days last year, I got to talk to sound designer Peter Storm-Wich and picture editor Anne Østerud about their joint presentation on Families Like Ours, a recent series directed by the great Danish director Thomas Vinterberg. The plot takes place in the near future, where there are sudden rising water levels and the entire country of Denmark has to be evacuated. Their presentation was really fascinating because they played the opening 5 or 6 minutes as they originally built it. It was a scene of hundreds of people getting onto ferries to be taken away from their homeland. It was mysterious, it was brooding, there was no music or dialogue at all. It was interesting, but it didn't really explain what was going on. And that was on purpose, that was their plan. But for some reason, it just didn't work. So they took another run at it, again without music, but this time with radios playing, explaining in vague terms what was happening. They also introduced tons of chaos into the sound design. Boat horns were going more frequently, and they almost became a score unto themselves. The picture barely changed, but the scene was completely different. It was an excellent example of what sound can do to an audience all on its own.
During your presentation today, you showed kind of the evolution of a scene, of the opening of an episode, I believe it was.
Right.
That the way you first tackled it and then the way you tackled it after you've got notes.
We showed this scene that had like quite different approach and aesthetic to the whole opening of the show. A much more calmer and mysterious kind of picture and camera movements, and it was much more mysterious in a way.
We're actually feeling that it was quite intriguing with the silence and the slowness of the scene. Something mysterious was happening. It looked like a departure, like a normal departure from in a harbor.
Yeah.
But then you could feel that something was slightly off, and we found that quite intriguing. But after testing, people were just bored, really. So.
Yeah. And Thomas had this very particular idea about how he wanted that soundscape then to sound. If it wasn't going to be this mysterious departure of people going somewhere we don't know why or how yet. He wanted to be really concrete and realistic and very chaotic in some way, with loads of things happening. And the first version was very smooth and very dreamy, with the exception of one like loud sound of a ferry tooting. And then it became this very concrete chaos soundscape of things. Yeah, and he was very particular about how he wanted it in the beginning, and that this was the time for sound to kind of shine, and this is our moment. He was like, you got to seize this moment. This is going to be the opening of this show, and this is how people are going to experience the first couple minutes of our work. You should blow them away.
And there's no music either.
No, there's no music at all.
You kind of created music with the fairy tones and the other tonal elements.
It was a general thing that there was supposed to be no music at all in the series, only music from radios or even performances and choirs and stuff like in the environment, like they did on the previous film.
Another round.
Another round. That was kind of the idea.
It was this dogma style where we only had music if people were singing themselves or listening to music playing. Mm-hmm. And we really liked that idea, so we tried. The first attempt was to try to work without score at all.
Yeah, and that's kind of keeps like you feel like more close to the characters, I guess, if you're just there with them. In terms of the opening, it was a kind of a musique concrète or something like that, just taking realistic sounds and trying to use them in a musical way. So, and that became like a thing throughout the whole series, like how can we use real-life sounds to do the same thing that a score would do? If it being percussive or more tonal or dissonant or stuff like that, it didn't matter. It should just come from the environment and from have base in what is there on screen and in the environment.
When I first started speaking with you before we were rolling, I said that I really thought it was great that you showed the scene before and after so people got to see the evolution, and that I don't think enough people do that. And Anne, you responded that it's a Danish thing to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that we at film school we are taught to be very open in our process, and we learn from that. So actually, I think that we just love showing our mistakes and the whole process, because you can easily just show the end product, but we find it nice to share and to get inspiration from each other and to learn from it. Open
to being vulnerable, be open to see all the mistakes and all the weaknesses, because it's obviously become like now it's this product or this end result is something that we are all proud of, but it took time to get there. And all those iterations and thoughts behind getting to that point is super valuable to anyone, and something I think we could all learn from with each other, and it's definitely something to strive for, I think.
And also we learn it very early. I think it's very important that you learn already in film school.
Yeah.
To be open.
Tone Benders, the podcast that we're on right now, we always hear about everyone's triumphs, like, oh, this is how we got to this amazing scene. So it was so wonderful to hear how you grew that scene and how it changed. Because when you played it originally, it sounded great. Like there's nothing wrong with it. But then when you played the second one, it was like, oh, that's a whole different vibe. Like it's obviously a different emotions are being brought out. And you said that you changed the picture you extended instead of changed the picture, I guess is the way you said it.
It's just the middle part is actually, I think, completely the same. It just sounds completely different.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's why you also experience it or see it differently, because the sounds are kind of different too. But then you add it both to the beginning of the whole sequence and to the end as well. Make it longer so you can be in that environment and with all the information that we're being put out driving in the car, and you hear the radio.
Well, that's a big difference, is there's no dialogue in version 1.
No, exactly. Yeah. That was one of the notes that you worked with, how to put more information in, and that was one of the places you could do that. Put information into like a news show or something in a car while they're moving, and you're just in this moment, and then you hear this radio voice of explaining something mysterious and arena, what is happening, kind of in a broad sense.
Without telling too much.
Exactly.
It's just
it's
create
just like
this
a hint.
Atmosphere of chaos.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for talking to me today. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Well, that is my wrap-up of the people I met at last year's Sonic Days conference. I'm really looking forward to the 2025 version coming up next month from November 18th to 20th in Kolding, Denmark. As a reminder, I will be doing a few presentations and hosting the Tonebenders Denmark Sound Design Meetup, all as part of the conference. It's all free to attend, all the talks, all the presentations. So I would encourage you all to come out as well, and please say hi to me so we can all hang out together and celebrate this wacky job we have making fun noises together. Go to sonicdays.com for all the information. After over a year of dedicated work, the entire Sound Ideas sound effects collection, over 500,000 individual files, have been upgraded to the Universal Category Systems file name and metadata standards. With this enhancement, sounds are now more organized, searchable, and ready for seamless integration into your workflow. Head over to sound-ideas.com to learn more. Tonebenders is produced by me, Timothy Muirhead. Theme music is by Jim Guthrie. You can reach me via email through info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Follow Tonebenders on Instagram to stay on top of new episodes. If you like the show, you can help us out by spreading the word to your friends and colleagues, or leave us a tip. Just go to tonebenderspodcast.com and click support.